here in the peninsula area is all the cities in Monterey County operate jointly. So there would be one thing that we would do as a group. And so if you worked in Seaside, or if you worked in Carmel, or further up the valley, it should all be the same. If you go down to Santa Barbara, I don't know what they would do down there.
But I mean, if the instructions and the requirements come from the state, aren't they going to require you to adopt their manuals, or?
Well, that's what this is, and it gives you design guidelines, essentially. These are the requirements that you have to meet. How you meet them is up to you or your design engineer on how you're going to get there. They're not saying you have to install an oil water separator. Then after that, you have to install this biofiltration type system. They're not telling you how to do it. They're just telling you where you have to get to at the end.
But I mean, obviously you have some standards, don't you? I mean, you can't just let people do their own thing, design like this. I mean, yeah, in the past, for all civil engineering works, the county has published their own standards and their own recommended details. I mean, obviously, you just can't start with a blank piece of paper. You're going to have some recommendations, aren't you?
Right. So the ones that we would use now, the county for this is going to be using the CASCOR manual, which is pretty much the standard right now for.
Okay, so basically, if you get a copy of that manual, you're going to have a good baseline to begin.
Yeah, it's a little bit different than that, and I know, I'm sorry I'm not able to communicate how it's different, but those types of facilities don't necessarily meet like all the requirements that they have in the CASCOR manual, and what's required for you when you construct a project is different from what this is requiring.
If I can just add, so the CASPA manual is kind of like a toolbox. They just go through and explain a whole bunch of options, but they don't say that you need to do anything. The permit that Tom is going through says you need to do this and you need to do that, but it doesn't say which one of the tools you need to use to achieve that. You can use any one of a number of different tools. That being said, the regional board and the state board has stated that their preference is for biological systems. So basically putting the water into landscape areas as opposed to just collecting it and piping it into an oil water separator. Traditionally that has been done very frequently because it's inexpensive and it's easy. That's not to say that it's not going to continue to have its use, particularly in larger parking lots, but the state has said that their preference is to send water to landscape areas where possible.
So if we obtain that manual from CEQA, you're going to basically, and we design according to the manual, that's going to be pretty much in concert with what your recommendation is?
Well, again, the manual it's a toolbox. It says if you're going to put in a planter that does this, this is how you do it, but it doesn't say that you need to. The permit says you need to do this, but it doesn't tell you how. So it's...
Okay, I think we're sort of running out of time here. I'd like to thank Tom for coming down.
Thank
Tom,
you. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. And certainly afterwards, we'll talk it over.
One more question, just to, if the county in its wisdom decides to extend G16 Carmel Valley Road to a 4-lane highway from all the way to the end, what requirements will that road have to meet under this?
It's all in here. The county, this applies to private homeowners, it applies to the county, it applies to every city. It's regardless of whether it's private or public, it applies to everyone.
So that to provide for holding areas of some sort for the runoff. Is that drainage areas?
For the areas that are within MS4, yeah.
So we would then create all of the mosquito ponds.
Yeah.
It will go into the ground.
Yeah, it should go into the ground, except during bad rain years, or good rain years, I don't know.
Anyway,
So if I can just sneak in right at the end, the last 2 pages of this thing
Okay.
are mostly what this regional water board is requiring of us, the county and the cities. So you might not even want to look at those because it's more about what we're required to provide them for on an annual basis. There's a few flow charts on the end that kind of help you better, I guess, visualize where your project would fall in and what the requirements are. One thing I did not mention is that for single-family homes, the requirement for for water quality treatment performance requirement number 2 doesn't kick in until you have more than 15,000 square feet of impervious area. And that's shown on this, on the last page of this little handout over here. But so there's, for a single family home, you have to plan in and design how your site is going to be graded, you know, save the natural areas. But the next requirement doesn't come in until you have over 15,000 square feet of impervious plus new area. And here is, if you would like, I'd be glad to send you digital copies of these things. This one here, I'll send this around together. Just again, it has the links over here to all these different programs, and you can click on these and get more information than you probably need to understand, which happens to me too. And here's some of my cards too.
Yeah, I also brought cards, and I'm sure Pat brought cards if you guys have additional questions.
I don't know whether you want multiples of these.
You want multiple?
Well, only one, I don't know, I kept on hearing about this all week, like, emails and radio and whatnot. I'm like, I don't know how many people are gonna be here.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate your coming.